Go ahead.
Okay. Show of hands. How many of you have ever played a video game? How many of you have ever had your parents after you for playing video games that are too violent? Violence and sexuality are almost as old as the video game industry, and a number of notable events have occurred. I'm going to discuss 3 particular incidents relating to video game controversy. I have researched these events in detail and have also, over the years, paid attention to the news. For example, Mortal Kombat was a violent and highly controversial fighting game by Acclaim and Midway. Mortal Kombat was infamous for its blood-drenched carnage and especially its finishing strikes known as fatalities. It originally came out in the arcade. One example of a fatality was that a character named Sub-Zero could rip off an opponent's head with part of the spine still attached, and a volcano of blood would erupt from the stump. And there were congressional hearings about violence in video games and their availability to children. And eventually, Mortal Kombat was ported to the Super Nintendo and the Sega Genesis. Nintendo, by the way, had a rather strict censorship policy at the time, so they made Midway remove the blood and dismemberment from Mortal Kombat. Sega, on the other hand, had a much more lenient censorship policy, so they did not censor the blood. And as a result, despite the Genesis being a much less successful system than the Super Nintendo, the Genesis version sold much better than the Super Nintendo version. And as a result, one of the results was that in 1994, the Entertainment Software Association founded the ESRB, or Entertainment Software Rating Board, which is the organization that puts those little letter ratings on the boxes. And the violence in Mortal Kombat was not the only major incident to cause controversy. Just 11 years later, Grand Theft Auto San Andreas was released. And a mini game known as Hot Coffee turned up, which is a sexual mini game. And it was discovered that Hot Coffee was actually built into the original program and could be enabled with a tiny modification of a configuration file. And as a result, the ESRB re-rated Grand Theft Auto San Andreas to adults only. And since a lot of stores' policies prohibit them from selling adults-only rated games, Take-Two took a major financial hit, and they had to actually recall and modify and re-release the game with Hot Coffee completely removed. And the Hot Coffee debacle resulted in a strong condemnation by a now former attorney named Jack Thompson. Jack Thompson is a former attorney who is notorious for his sharp criticism of the video game industry and gamers in general. Throughout his career, he campaigned vigorously against games and other media, such as music he considered obscene. And on September 25th, 2008, Jack Thompson was disbarred for several offenses, according to the Florida Supreme Court. Such offenses included submitting junk filings to interfere with the legal system, sending vitriolic hate mail to his opponents, and submitting gay porn through the courts, and retaliating against attorneys who complained about his conduct by slandering them as criminal pornographers who objectify women. There has been objectionable content in video games as long as there have been video games. Whether you like it or you don't, any person in this room with enough money can easily go out and buy an M-rated game filled with murder and mayhem. Mortal Kombat, Hot Coffee, and Jack Thompson's Disbarment are just the beginning. With violence increasing in games, as shown in Gears of War 2, the controversy can be expected to continue indefinitely.